Welcome everybody to the new player starter guide in Subnautica. In order to craft the equipment that we need to survive, there will be a few nodes that we need to be aware of. Limestone will give us titanium or copper. Sandstone will give us silver, gold, or lead. And shale will give us gold, diamond, or lithium. Barnacle, which can be found exclusively on the reef backs, will give us silver or copper. And other resources that we need to be aware of, metal salvage, when broken down, will give us 4 pieces of titanium. Acid mushrooms, which is a key component in making batteries. Quartz, which we need to make glass, as well as other things. Creepvine and creepvine cluster, which we need for fabric, lubricant, and rubber. Cave sulfur, which we'll need early game, but not a lot of. Okay, so with that knowledge, let's go ahead and jump in the water and start gathering resources. We'll gather some mushrooms for batteries, and we'll start looking for limestone and things like that. If you come across this brain coral, you can hover over it. The bubbles will refill your oxygen. We want to stay fairly close to the surface because our oxygen is very limited at this point. So I'm literally just going around looking for all the nodes and things that I can break or pick up. You see the kelp forest right here. This is one thing we're going to need. There's going to be yellow clusters, and we're going to need to take 2 of them to start. We're looking for a yellow glow. Now the vine itself is useful, but it's not useful until we craft a knife. So there's a yellow glow right there, and that's what we need. And at night, this thing glows really well, and it makes it very easy to find. Now this will take up 4 spaces in your inventory, so beware of that. You can see. So as you're in the water and you're exploring, you may lose track of your life pod. If you come into your PDA and you go to the 3rd tab, the beacon manager, you can turn it on or off, and you can change the color to make it easier to see. I advise that you change the color so you can find it easily. We want to kind of stay near the safe shallows for now, so I'm going to go back that way. I do see some metal salvage over here, and I'm going to be able to break that down with the other metal salvage, and that's going to give us 8 pieces of titanium, which we will need. Stay away from the gas pods, as when you get near him, he gets scared and he releases poisonous gas into the water, which will damage you. Once we have a knife, we'll be able to break the table coral down and take the pieces to craft for computer chips. There's some limestone on the back, so I'm going to grab that. This metal salvage is appealing to me, but I'm going to leave it for now because I want to go ahead and fill up with copper and other things like that. I will continue doing this throughout the whole day, and once I have a full inventory of supplies, we will go ahead and meet back on the life pod. You will occasionally find things like creature eggs, which eventually you can hatch and grow, but it is advised early game not to bother with these because all they're going to do is take up resource space. And until you have the alien containment, they're not useful. With our inventory almost full, we can start heading back to the life pod. Watch out for these guys. They will bite you. Now, while we're inside, even though this is damaged and not working, make sure you always take the medical kit out of the medical kit fabricator. Once you take it out, it will start to regenerate a new medical kit. And this will allow you to get a healthy supply of medical kits in your inventory or in a storage box somewhere so you can heal when you need it. Now we have a healthy dose of things And we're going to come in. First thing, we have a few items that need to be broken down. Things like the creep vine seed cluster and the metal salvage need to be broken down into their smaller components so that we can craft with them. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and make my seed vine cluster one into silicone rubber. And the other one will be lubricant, but we won't need that till a little bit later, so we're not going to worry about that. A few other components that we're going to need to make for our tools. If we come into our tools, we're going to need to make a battery. So let's go ahead into the electronics section and make a battery or two. We're going to need them, and once they're empty, don't throw them out. Those empty batteries are going to be very useful later on. With those empty batteries, we can now craft what's called a power cell with a little bit of silicone rubber and 2 batteries. Now, instead of crafting a brand new fresh battery, you can take a dead battery or an almost dead battery or 2 dead batteries or almost dead batteries with silicone rubber and make a power cell. The power cell won't be dead, it'll be fully charged. So this is a good way to maximize your resources. The first thing we want to make is a scanner. This is going to be really important. It's going to allow us to unlock more blueprints. So let's make that. The next one we're going to make is the repair tool. This is going to allow us to repair the life pod, and this is pretty important. It's going to give us some lights, and more importantly, it's going to get the radio functioning. Once the radio is functioning, we'll start to get waypoints to different areas to investigate. Now, the next piece of equipment we want to make, we come into personal and we go up to our equipment. We want to make a standard O2 tank, and once we make this tank, it's going to unlock the high capacity tank. You have to completely exit out of the fabricator to go back in it to see the additions that are unlocked. So now we'll need 2 glass, we'll need a piece of silver, which we know we can get from reefback barnacles or sandstone, 2 pieces of glass, and some titanium. The next thing we're going to make is some fins. This is going to allow us to swim about 15% faster, and honestly, this makes a big difference. We're going to want to make a knife, and we want to make a flashlight. Now, this isn't needed, but if you're going to be out in somewhere dark or gathering resources or checking wreckage at night, this light works really well. In order to do that, we need a battery and some glass. So we did grab some quartz, which we need 2 pieces of quartz to make 1 piece of glass. So we're going to make a couple pieces of glass. Now, our storage is getting filled pretty fast. So there is another way in the early game to manage your storage, and that's to make waterproof lockers with 4 pieces of titanium or 1 piece of metal salvage, and breaking that down into its components of 4 pieces of titanium. So if we go ahead and do that, and we go into the water, now we can access this and put things in it. You can make as many as you want. Now, with our scanner at hand, we need to start to find small wreckage and debris up and around the safe shallow area. When out and about and looking for resources and things like that, you're going to find boxes just like this one. You come and look inside, you're going to find things. This is the next thing that we really want to find, is the sea glide. And this is going to allow us to get around a lot faster. So we need 2 pieces for that. Now, I've found a little bit of debris here, so let's go ahead and take a look. There's also things like boxes, beacon fragments, and you're really going to want to go ahead and look around in the safe shallows and in the grassy plateaus area for fragments to unlock. And the order of importance of things I need to build and the way I do it and the way I recommend it is to unlock the sea glide, the mobile vehicle bay, so that we can craft a sea moth later. And then, of course, the fragments that you need for the sea moth. Scanning things that you've already unlocked will just yield titanium, which of course we know is a needed material. Now that we have our sea glide unlocked, we want to go back to our life pod and we want to craft that as soon as possible. Now that we've unlocked our sea glide, we want to come into the crafting fabricator and we want to go down to the deployables with all the resources that we need to craft it, and we want to go ahead and craft that. Eventually, the debris in the safe shallows will become exhausted, and you'll strike out into areas surrounding it, like the grassy plateaus, which you can identify by the red grass. Here you're going to find a whole host of different things and wreckage, including larger pieces of wreckage, which are very important early game because they leave fragments of blueprints. Fragments like the scanner room right here, where you'll need to scan multiple pieces in order to lock the whole blueprint. It is important to note, however, that while larger pieces of wreckage like this one will always be static in every game that you play or restart, the debris scattered around it and sometimes inside it will always be randomized. Data boxes, which contain a whole blueprint, will always be static. And if you've already unlocked that blueprint and you come across its data box, you'll either receive titanium, or if the wreck has not spawned yet in the game because you've not been in that area, it may not be there at all. Another important part is wreck diving. Now we can find all kinds of good things here, and it is advised to be very extremely careful because wreck diving is dangerous. It is easy to get turned around in these, and you can die. But you can find a whole host of really good items, like this mobile vehicle bay fragment that we need. We keep looking around. We may just find the other piece. We weren't lucky here, but we could potentially go farther if we wanted to find more. A rebreather while doing wreck dives is advised. Once we've unlocked our sea moth and our mobile vehicle bay, it'll be time to go back to our life pod and build them both. In order to craft not just the mobile vehicle bay, but the sea moth as well, we will need 2 titanium ingots, 2 pieces of lubricant, lead, 2 pieces of glass, and 2 power cells, which would be 4 batteries. So I've crafted 4 batteries here. One of them is dead, just like I talked about. And what we want to do is we want to come through all of our equipment, like our Sea Glide is down to 40%, our scanner's at 87%, our repair tool has no battery. And we want to replace the things that we can with the brand new cells. So this would give us a dead battery and a low battery. And we can use these 2. I'll actually put the other 2 good ones away for now. And I'll show you. When we craft a power cell, it's full. So this will allow you to reuse your dead batteries before you have things like a battery charger. The next thing that we want to craft before we go out and release our mobile vehicle bay will be a beacon. Now we found the fragments for this blueprint in the debris around the safe shallows and the grassy plateaus. With those in hand, we're going to go ahead and go outside. We're going to equip this to 5, and we'll release it. Once we climb up on top, we can click the little panel, click the vehicles. We have everything we need for the sea moth, and that's going to craft the sea moth. Now, the final thing that we want to cover in this guide is 0 point. Now, if you're on a computer, 0 point will be easier for you to find, but if you're on console, you do not have that option that PC does. And using your life pod as a reference point for some things may be okay, but for a lot of other things, Rex included, we use 0 point, especially on this channel and in many of my guides and many other content creators' guides. So the best thing we want to do is we want to stand up on our life pod and look around in the safe shallows. Now here in the distance, I can see 2 coral tubes sticking out of the water. I know from experience that 0 point is not going to be there. If I turn to the right towards the Aurora, I will see that coral tube. Now, your location for your life pod will be different from mine in this guide because it spawns randomly, like I said. That's why we usually don't use the life pod as a reference point, but we see that one sticking out of the water, and if we look around, literally there's only 3 sticking out of the water. We're going to go to the one that's single. This one is shaped like a horn with the thinner, skinnier part sticking out of the water. This is what we're looking for. This is not 0 point. This is going to help us find 0 point. We put our back directly to it. It's like this. And right before us is like a little valley pathway. We go right into this pathway right here. And we look to the left, we see a little tiny arch. We can release our beacon right here. Now, if I highlight over the front of it, I can change the name to 0 point, whatever you'd like to call it. We pull this up and we go back into our beacon manager right here on the 3rd tab. We can change the color of that to a color that'll stand out. It's like this. So now, anywhere on the map, if we're leaving from 0 point and we know it's, say, 1,100 meters away, as we get farther away, all we have to do is turn around, highlight over our 0 point beacon managed right there, and it'll tell us we're 62 meters away. We have a long way to go. We continue on. You get the point. Now that we got a good start in the game, the next thing that we're going to want to think about making is a habitat builder. With our habitat builder, when we click it, it'll bring up a menu of things we can build, including solar panels for power, different sections that'll allow us to build all kinds of great things, fabricators, as you can see, and this list will increase as we continue to dive for more wrecks and find more wreckage. I won't get into the building aspect of the game right here because that is for another video at the end of this short 3-part series. You may want to build something like this early game so that you can put lockers in there. Lockers like these, which you can mount on the wall and it'll give you a lot more storage. Throw a solar panel on there and you have a little bit of power and oxygen. You'll have oxygen in this or any base as long as you have power to it. Now that we have our sea moth, the next step is to go out further and deeper to discover more wreckage, to unlock new blueprints, to craft, build, and complete the game. In the next guide, we'll be going over many different locations for wrecks that you should definitely check out in the game, and make sure you get your 0 point marked because we will be using 0 point for this. If you